there, mountain dreamers. Coming to you today telling you the top secrets of the ski resort chief operating officers. You're not going to want to miss it, especially if you want to be a short-term rental landlord in our county. Stay tuned. Okay, as always, first of all, thanks for finding my channel. I'm Kristen Walter. I'm the head of the Mountain Dream team. I'm doing my best to record a huge video series that answers all the questions that we get in a resort and a rural market of Colorado to keep you informed. So we get a lot of phone calls and we get a lot of the same questions over and over and over again. The first thing I did with all these questions was I turned them into a book. So if you're a book reader and you want to download it onto your device or order a print copy, the link is below to the book about everything that you need to know about purchasing a property in Summit County, Colorado. Before we get started, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'm gonna keep telling you all my secret tips and tricks and how to be profitable, how to be wise, how to be smart, how to make a good investment, and basically how to have a good time in a vacation market. Okay, so every year, we as real estate brokers and also many members of the community with the Summit Area Chamber of Commerce get invited to the Ski Resort Chief Operating Officer Breakfast, the COO Breakfast. And it's really fun and cool because in Summit County, Colorado, we have a lot of ski resorts in our county. We have Arapahoe Basin, Loveland Ski Area, Copper Mountain, Breckenridge, and Keystone just in our county. So every year, all 5 of these COOs and some of their other executives come to us. We eat breakfast. The money goes towards charity. We have a silent auction. This last year, because of the pandemic, it was all virtual. But we get to hear from these COOs and they get to tell us about all the wonderful improvements that they're doing at the resort and what to expect with new lifts or new bathrooms or new restaurants or new avalanche training. And we get to see their avalanche dogs. It's so wonderful. The other thing that they tell us are the factual statistics on the things that make the resort successful. I've boiled these down into some tips for you because if you're coming to our area to purchase a property, more than likely you also want to rent that property out when you're not here. And you need to be thinking like a ski resort COO on how we are going to take care of all these guests and all these vacationers. I think also, whether you're renting your place out or not, as a property owner in a resort market, your property value, your enjoyment level is directly related to how these resorts are running. And it is our major industry. So for example, if your major industry where you live is oil and gas, you're gonna be keeping up with the oil and gas folks. But in our area, it's the ski resorts. So I'm gonna hit you with some quick things that the COOs have told us year over year over year that you can apply to your knowledge base and be that much more intelligent when you come to talk with us and decide on where you wanna live and decide on where you wanna purchase. This also helps you if you're of the investor mind and you wanna know how your investment is gonna do year over year. So the first tip I have for you that every COO of every ski resort knows and anybody who lives in a ski town knows is let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Now listen, I know that you're sick of it snowing where you're at, but we rely on the snow. We call the snow white gold because statistically, vacationers are going to plan their vacation based on last year's snow. So I can remember a few years when we've had some droughts and quite frankly, the snowfall sucked and people had awful experiences. They spent all this money coming out to ski. They had planned on it their whole year and dreamed about it and coming to do the fresh powder and all this stuff. And they come and they're skiing on ice. And they were like, oh my God, that sucks. We're never going back to the county. And they didn't book their vacations in our area for the next year. We all know that this is something that no one can control. However, there are snowmaking machines. We know that. And we've got some people using technology to make snow clouds. But that still doesn't help us when we have serious bad years. So that's why we say, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. That's your first secret that every ski resort COO thinks about, talks about, prays about. They do their snow dance. We've got some superstitions. I'll tell you, if you get a penny and you put it in the window, that's one of the superstitions that we do for snow. And then sometimes we take the ski resort map and we put it in the freezer. That's another superstition, another thing that we do just to pray for snow, basically. The other thing I tell people is you gotta know where people are coming from to go skiing. Statistically, historically, they are coming from Texas, Florida, and out east. So New York, New Jersey, Indiana, all those places, and Kansas. Now, I am not being discriminatory towards anyone. I love everyone. You all can come from wherever you want. But you need to think about this in terms of skiing. You need to think about this in terms of the quality of the ski slopes and the availability of skiing. So we do have a lot of people coming to us from California right now for various reasons. But for the most part, people from California aren't coming to Colorado to ski because they have Lake Tahoe where they can ski. The people coming from out east are coming because the ski slopes out there are not as big and giant and beautiful and snowy as ours. The people from Texas are coming because, let's face it, one of the only things you don't have in Texas is mountains to ski on. And don't get upset with me, Texans, because as you might already know, I'm from Houston originally. But seriously, that's like the one thing we don't have in Texas is somewhere to go skiing, right? So if you look at those major drivers, you look at where those people are coming from, that's how you can plan for a successful season. And if you are someone who's a marketer, that's where the ski COOs are marketing these resorts. Like I said in the video about how to choose your property manager, these folks, if you treat them right from wherever they're coming from, they're gonna return year over year to the exact same place. So a family from Houston is gonna realize that it's going to be taking them one whole day of travel to get from Houston to Breckenridge. But they know that when they get to Breckenridge, they have a certain experience that they love each time. So these folks are gonna be returning year over year. So something to think about is really focusing your efforts on the places where people are coming from historically, but not being discriminatory in your practices either. So we have to be very careful with the fair housing laws. The other secret that ski resort COOs have really honed in on, this comes from Hilton Resorts, it comes from Mr. Hilton himself, is upgrades. So the finest things that you can imagine. You want to have an upgraded unit. So a lot of our condos, a lot of our houses that were built in the 80s and 90s haven't been upgraded since the 80s and 90s. I can't tell you how many pictures from the Southwest that are pink and green that look like they're stuck in the 80s are still in these units. I still find places for sale that have VHS tapes. Some of you guys don't even know what that is. They've got a whole collection of VHS tapes that they think vacationers are coming and the kids are watching and people are watching. Upgrades. So upgrading the lighting fixtures, upgrading the kitchens, the bathrooms, the doors, the flooring, everything you can think of. These COOs are really trying to upgrade our area because you got to think about it. The resorts have been here since the 70s, and we've just got a lot of units that people can enjoy the upgrades when they come. The other thing that the COOs are telling us to do is to sort of test drive your own unit. So if you own a condo or a house and you're renting it out, you need to come and see what the experience is like. Whether you're the property manager on it or whether you've hired a property manager, you need to come and see what your guests are seeing. Spending time in your own place is going to give you a great idea on how to make things better, on how your property manager is doing good for you, or what needs improving upon. And that leads to my next tip. You need to continuously strive to keep those guests happy. You need to have feedback, and you need to be open to that feedback. If you are a landlord, you're in the resort business now. You need to make someone like Conrad Hilton your hero and see, how does a hotelier do it? How do concierges do it? You're on that end of the deal now. The next thing is you just need to keep it professional. Hire a professional property manager if you're not sure how to do all of this. There's no shame in that. They're gonna take a lot of money, but they're gonna be worth the money in the long run. Again, I have another video on that, on how to choose them, how to interview them. But don't be afraid to hire a professional property manager, because these folks have a direct line to the resorts and to the COOs. They know how to do things day in, day out. They're professionals. They rely on this income. They are locals. They live here full time, just like us. And they love what they do. And even just the slightest little hint of a rumor or the slightest little hint of a secret, with them being here full time, is going to help you when things start changing, or if there's laws that are changing or whatever it is. Hiring a professional property manager could be the best thing that you do if you're a landlord. Now, the other thing that you need to be aware of is that you need to be ready to lose a little money sometimes. Now, I know this is kind of like, what are you talking about? You know, well, think about it. If you have a long-term tenant in one of your properties in the big city, don't you sometimes have an issue with a deposit, or you have an issue with a tenant, they have to move out, you have to fix stuff up, you have to clean it, you're spending money on your marketing to get a new person in there. You need to budget that there's going to be some types of little emergencies sometimes, or some types of little hiccups where you're having to maybe comp the guest for one night and give them one night free, or your property manager made a little mistake and they're gonna take a hit on their expenses and you're gonna take a hit on one of your expenses. Or, God forbid, sometimes the homeowners associations will charge you more money for your dues, have a special assessment, something like that. So just plan to have little tiny emergencies. Don't plan on this income to be perfectly stable, predictable all the time. There will be changes, there will be little surprises. Tip number 9, I've hinted on this a couple times. Focus on repeat customers. Focus on that core group of folks that you want to come back to your place year over year over year over year. Because I can tell you that that is gonna make your life a lot easier. It's what the COOs are doing all the time. And I'm not just talking about with their marketing and who they're marketing to and where they're coming from. It's the guest services, and it's the exact people in the exact same unit year over year. Because if you're coming from a place to experience a vacation and you have a great time in that one condo or that one huge house, you're gonna go back to that same condo and that same house year over year, right? Because it's something that you know. It's something that you know you can show up, you can relax, everything's gonna be taken care of, you know where to find it. If there's a blizzard, you know where to park, all these things. If your place is familiar and safe, they're gonna keep coming back. And listen, treat them like royalty. Give them free experiences, give them some fun tickets to go do things. Just think of ways you can incentivize them to come back year over year, because you know, word of mouth referral marketing is less expensive than you having to place ads on Facebook or you asking your property manager to do ads somewhere or postcards or whatever. So treat them like royalty, focus on those same guests year over year, and that is gonna be what helps you with your vacation condo. Before I get to the last secret of the COOs of the resort, please click the like button, leave a comment below. What am I missing? What questions do you have about owning a property in a resort market? What questions do you have about being a short-term rental landlord, or just any general real estate questions for the state of Colorado? I'd love for someone to ask me a question that I don't know how to answer, that I have to find out and get another expert on the videos here for you. So see if you can put a trick question below that maybe you think I cannot answer. I would love to hear from you about the resort, ski markets, and real estate in Colorado. See if you can trip me up. So the last tip is a no-brainer, and it's basically just track your numbers. If you own a vacation rental property, or if this is just your second home, you need to be tracking those expenses like crazy. You need to know how much money did you pay for the electric bill last winter when it was a good winter, like a lot of snow. How much money did you pay the year before when maybe it wasn't as cold? You need to be tracking those numbers and tracking those expenses. And then if you're renting your place out, track how much money you've gotten year over year and season over season, so that you can plan for the worst, so that you can see what might be happening in the future. Now, when it comes to these numbers, and we're tracking our numbers, and we're tracking our expenses, and we're tracking our income, just like the COOs have said, is the number one wild card that you cannot absolutely rely on a vacation rental income, because I'm going to go back to secret number one. We don't know what the snow is going to do next year. So if you have an incredibly great snow year, which we've been having great snow years, we've been having people come to the mountains and ski in droves because of the pandemic, and you could be outside and it's just somewhere you can be safe from the virus. But what happens in a down economy? What happens when people can't go on vacation because there's problems going on at home? What happens when they have to go back to work and to a real office and they can't be outside working from the slopes anymore? As you're tracking your expenses, as you know your numbers, as you're looking at historical stuff, you need to think about the future as well and think about the snow. That's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the mountains. Bye for now.